Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Russian hacked our election. Here comes a big change. Because all of a sudden, Trump, Russian possible collusion, Russian collusion.
Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Trump, Russian, possible collusion.
Trump, the Russians, collusion.
Collusion with the Russians. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Prove collusion. Prove collusion.
With Putin and the Kremlin and be in collusion. This president in collusion with Putin and the Kremlin are very worried.
I think you guys get it. Essentially, if you repeat something enough times, eventually people will believe it, right? If you repeat something enough, eventually people will believe it. Andrea in here sounds like a bunch of paid Muppets. Absolutely. And it's just people that were either lied to or knew that they were wrong, but lying to the public. And that's really what we get to. And so I'm going to break down. So the Durham probe is about 300 something pages long. And I have a pretty simple way where I can tell you exactly what's in it. And I'm going to go through it a little bit more in depth too. But I want to show you this video because this is well before the time of the Durham probe, and God bless his soul. This is Rush Limbaugh basically saying everything that we found out from the Durham probe. So here is that video.
And while I've mentioned this before, this is not news. It really hit me this week how outrageous, again, this whole investigation is.
Absolutely.
How unjustified, how unwarranted, how totally misdirected it is. It is more than a hoax. It is something that is so destructive to what's going on in the country today. It is an out and out lie. Everything associated with this investigation, including this whole mess that the Russians meddled. The entire meddling, the entire collusion, every bit of working with Russians to affect the outcome of the election in 2016 took place between the Democrat Party, the Democrat National Committee, the Hillary Clinton campaign, and her paid employees.
Yep.
Including Fusion GPS and a bunch of corrupt people at the FBI. Donald Trump and his family didn't collude with Russia at all. In fact, the Trump Tower meeting, I wouldn't be surprised if when all of this comes out that thing was a whole Democrat Party setup. That the whole thing was a setup, like planting the spies in the Trump campaign was a setup.
Mm-hmm.
Not to find Russian spying or Russian meddling, but to create some.
That's exactly what happened too. That is what we learned from the Durham probe. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. Like I said, I read through the entirety of the Durham probe. Well, I'll be honest. I skimmed through it because it's 300 something pages long, and it's super flippin' boring. And Rush Limbaugh, God rest his soul, is, except for like a few tiny minute details, is for the most part right. He predicted the future. The Mueller report as it came out a few years ago proved some of what he said. And then this Durham report affirms and builds upon what we already knew. That corruption from three-letter agency operatives like James Comey, Peter Strzok, I don't know exactly how to say his name, but Strzok. So Strzok, I don't know. Peter Strzok, Andrew McCabe, and Kevin Kleinsmith lied to the American people and showed blatant investigative political bias against President Trump and Republicans. They did. That is what the Durham probe proved. The FBI is liable for lying to the American public. But you want to know who really lied and knowingly lied? Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and the Democratic National Committee. All these people should be going to jail. The sad thing is they probably won't. But what I am going to do is show you guys a few very important things from the Durham probe so that you can be well educated on the issues of the Durham probe, so that we can have an educated populace and so that you guys know exactly what was actually said. So we're going to start off here on page 9. And so it's the opening of Crossfire Hurricane. Okay, so I'm going to try to make this a little bit bigger. It's not super easy to read here, but it's everything that I can do. Okay, so let's make it bigger. I hope you guys can see some of this. Okay, so the opening of Crossfire Hurricane. So the most important parts of that one, I'm trying to make sure I find it all. So at the time of the opening Crossfire Hurricane, right here, at the time of opening Crossfire Hurricane, the FBI had no information. The FBI had no information in its holdings indicating that at any time during the campaign, anyone in the Trump campaign had been in contact with any Russian intelligence officials. So even when this investigation into Trump and Russian collusion was open, there was no information, not a single ounce of information indicating that at any time the Trump campaign had been in contact with any Russian intelligence officials. Yet we had an entire full-fledged investigation into this, a waste of taxpayer money and political persecution from our three-letter agencies. Now, let's go to, there's another one that I want to show you guys. This is it's technically page 17 in all of this. It's in the conclusion here. Okay. So, as noted, former FBI attorney Kevin Kleinsmith committed a criminal offense by fabricating language in an email that was material to the FBI obtaining the FISA surveillance order. In other instances, FBI personnel working on the same FISA application displayed at best a cavalier attitude toward accuracy and completeness. FBI personnel also repeatedly disregarded important requirements when they continued to seek renewals of that FISA surveillance, while acknowledging both then and in hindsight that they did not genuinely believe there was probable cause to believe that the target was knowingly engaged in clandestine intelligence activities on behalf of a foreign power. So essentially, the FBI continued to just work willy-nilly with no probable cause, nothing, to keep investigating into this big lie. They continued to investigate into this big, big lie. And then the biggest thing that I want to find here is, so based on the review, let's find it here. That's not it. I'm trying to find the right place here. So, exhaustive cost for okay, so here's the biggest one. So indeed, based on the evidence gathered in the multiple exhaustive and costly federal investigations of these matters, including the instant investigation, neither U.S. law enforcement nor the Intelligence Committee appears to have possessed any actual evidence of collusion in their holdings at the commencement of the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. We already knew this. But alas, we still need to say it to the media. We still need investigations to say it to the media so that we can prove to them that it didn't actually happen. So here's another one that I want to get to, page 91. It's actually page 81 in there. So what I want to show here, assuming that it lets me start scrolling, here we go, is that, okay, so this all has to do with Hillary Clinton here. So the office also considered, as part of the investigation, the government's handling of certain intelligence that it received during the summer of 2016. So here's the biggest two things. In late July 2016, U.S. intelligence agencies obtained insight into Russian intelligence analysis, alleging that U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton had approved a campaign plan to stir up a scandal against U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump by tying him to Putin and the Russians, hacking of the DNC. The IC does not know the accuracy of this allegation or the extent to which the Russian intelligence analysis may reflect exaggeration or fabrication. According to his handwritten notes, CIA Director Brennan subsequently briefed President Obama and other senior national security officials on the intelligence, including the, quote, alleged approval by Hillary Clinton of a proposal from one of her foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up the scandal, claiming interference by Russian security services. So here's the thing. Not only did we know the FBI knew that this was all a lie, the CIA knew this was all a lie. Hillary Clinton herself is the one to have orchestrated the lie, and Obama knew about it too. It's absolutely insane. And then, as we heard Rush Limbaugh talk about, Fusion GPS was also involved. And so if we go to page 98 of this, we're going to find it here. As it relates to the Carter Page, who is also a flippin' liar to the American public. Shortly thereafter, Fusion GPS hired Christopher Steele. You guys recognize that name? The Steele dossier? The Steele dossier, the entire basis for all of these investigations, and his UK-based firm Orbis Business Intelligence to investigate Trump's ties to Russia. At this time, Steele, who again has stated that he was formerly an intelligence professional for the British government, being in July 2016, continuing through December 2016, Steele and Fusion GPS prepared a series of reports containing derogatory information that purported ties between Trump and Russia. According to the reports, important connections between Trump and Russia ran through campaign manager Paul Manafort and foreign policy advisor Carter Page. So, Hillary for America retained Fusion GPS. And then Fusion GPS hires Christopher Steele. And then the Steele dossier comes out. This entire thing was a lie orchestrated, at least based on everything that we can read. It is presumed that the entire idea of Russian collusion was a lie from Hillary Clinton. Billions of dollars of taxpayer money spent in investigations, in reports, into what is a completely fabricated lie by Hillary Clinton and the DNC. That's what we've learned. And the FBI is more than complicit in all of this. Is more than complicit. And so if you want even a little bit more proof, we can go to page 106 in all of this, which is actually 116 when I type it in. What the FBI knew from its intelligence collections as of early 2017. As the record reflects, as of early 2017, the FBI still did not possess any intelligence showing that anyone associated with the Trump campaign was in contact with Russian intelligence officers during the campaign. The FBI literally had nothing. The FBI had zip, zilch, squat, zero, nothing. And yet they still continued all of these investigations and spending your money, my money, our money on nothing. They spent a lot of money to write a 300-page report that tells us practically nothing. And so I do want to make sure that we all know how this report ends. On page 306, possible FBI reform. So here are the recommendations. So this is a 306-page report saying basically how corrupt the FBI is. And then we get half a page that recommends reform. One possible way to provide additional scrutiny of politically sensitive investigations would be to identify in advance an official who is responsible for challenging the steps taken in the investigation. Stuart Baker proposes having a, quote, career position for a nonpartisan FBI agent or lawyer to challenge the FISA application and every other stage of the investigation. As a way to ensure full consideration of the issues and applications that may present very difficult and virtually important and vitally important issues, we recommend that the department seriously consider Baker's proposal for an official and to challenge both a politically sensitive FISA application and the other stages of the investigation. Nothing, former Attorney General Levi warned, can more weaken the quality of life or more imperil the realization of the goals we all hold dear than our failure to make clear by words and deed that our law is not the instrument of partisan purpose. But here's the thing, everybody. It is clear that our three-letter agencies like the FBI and the CIA are weaponized for political persecution. And in this case, if it was in the form of going after President Donald Trump and the blatant lie that he had colluded with Russia. The point of all this? The Durham report in and of itself is kind of a nothing burger. It confirms everything we already knew. That Republicans already knew since 2016, that Hillary Clinton and the Democrats lied about Russian collusion, but they realized that if they said it enough, if they got enough of the media to buy into it, they were able to say allegedly to keep some plausible deniability, then they'd be able to brainwash half of the American populace to believe that Trump actually colluded with Russia, when there is nothing to show that. What will we see from this? Little to nothing, probably nothing. It's confirmed in the document that our three-letter agencies are biased against Republicans, meaning that the big lie will not result in a single indictment, a single arrest, a single day of jail time for those that provably orchestrated the whole thing. And it's sad that that's the state of our justice system, is that we have people that have brainwashed half of the American populace, and no one will ever serve a single day of jail time for it. No one will ever have to face retribution. And Rush Limbaugh called it all from the very beginning. He knew all of it before he died.